All right, you guys, so on today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a couple of different things in the calculator so that when you are using it for tests or benchmarks or anything like that, you understand how to use the different features. So one of the main things I want to show you is how to put fractions and mixed numbers in the calculator. So I'm going to start with how do you put in a fraction. So if you look right up here above the 7, right at this button with the BC, it actually looks like a fraction. That's your fraction button. So anytime you want to put in a fraction, you would basically hit that button. And if you'll notice on the screen, it gives you the fraction bar, and right now it's blinking at the top, which means this is where I can put in my numerator. So let's say I wanted to put in 1/4. So my numerator would be 1. Once you're ready to put in the denominator, you've got to hit the arrow down. You have to tell the calculator that this is my denominator. Then once you're done with the fraction, again, you've got to tell the calculator, okay, this is my fraction, 1/4. I'm done. So you have to hit the arrow over. And then once the box is blinking beside the fraction, that's how you'll know that your fraction is in. So then let me put in another one. So let's say I want to put in 4/5. Again, I'm going to hit the fraction button, put in my numerator, hit the arrow down, put in my denominator, hit the arrow over, and now I've got 4/5. So let's do one more, and I want you to actually do it with me this time. So I'm going to clear it. So let's put in 7/8. So right now, hit the fraction button. See if your screen looks like mine. Now hit the 7, because that's your numerator. You should see the 7. Now we want to put in the 8. Hit the arrow down. Your box should be blinking on the bottom like mine. Go ahead and put in your denominator. And now we're done, so hit the arrow over. And your screen should look like mine. If you did that, you have correctly put in a fraction. So now let's look at how do you put in a mixed number. A mixed number is a little bit different because you've got to put in a whole number and then a fraction. And let's say I try to put in 7.5 and I hit the 7 and then I want to hit the fraction. The calculator is not going to let you do it that way because the calculator is going to think that you're trying to make 7 a part of your fraction. So what you have to do is you have to put in your whole number. You have to hit the unit button. I'm sorry. I take that back. You have to hit the whole number, then hit the unit button. And so what that means is you hit the whole number, and then if you hit the unit button, now what it does is it's giving you the space where you can now put in your fraction. And if I want to put in my fraction of 1/2, I put my 1 at the top and then my 2 at the bottom, and then I go over. And so now I've got 7.5. So let's do another one. Let's say I want to put in 2 1/3. I hit my whole number, then I hit the unit button, then I hit the 1, go down, hit the 3, then go over, and now I have 2 1/3. And so let's do one together. So let's say we want to put in 1 7/10. So I'm going to put my whole number in. So put your whole number. So hit the 1. So you should have a 1 on your screen. Now hit the unit button so that you can put in your fraction. Our fraction is going to be 7/10. Your screen should look like mine. You should have the 1, and then you should have right beside it where you can put in your fraction. Hit the 7. That's how you'll know that you have your fraction. It should actually look like the beginning of a fraction. Then hit your arrow down, and then our next number is 10. And so now I have 7/10. I'm done with my fraction, and I want to hit the arrow over, and then that lets me know that now I've put in my mixed number 1 7/10. The last thing I'm going to show you how to do on your calculator is how to change a fraction to a decimal or a decimal to a fraction. So let's say I want to take 1/2 and change it to a decimal. So I can start by putting in the fraction 1/2, and we just learned how to do that. So I'm going to put in 1/2. Then I'm going to hit the arrow over to let my calculator know that's my fraction. Then above the number 8, do you see this button that has an F and a D and some arrows? Well, if you think about it, it makes sense. It's fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction. So if I hit that button, the calculator is going to change it into the other form. So because it's already a fraction, the calculator knows that the next thing to do is change it to a decimal. And if you look here, it has already changed it to a decimal for me. So if I want to change 4/5, I'm going to put my fraction in first, 4/5. Then I got to make sure that I hit the arrow over, because look what happens if I don't. So I hit the arrow over. Now I want to go ahead and put my enter, and I want to change that to 8/10. So then if I want to take a decimal and change a decimal to a fraction, I'm going to hit clear. So I want to put in my decimal. So let's say I want to change 36 hundredths to a fraction. So I'm going to put in my decimal first, hit that same button, and then press enter, and it changes it to a fraction for you. And it gives you 9/25. So this is a very cool feature. It kind of basically takes some of those steps out. And I know you're probably thinking, dang, Ms. Kingsbury, you should have been showed us this. Well, no, because I want you to know how to do everything by hand. I think that's pretty much about it. I don't see anything else on here that I think you'll need for your test today. One thing that's important to remember when you're dealing with the calculator, the division symbol is not going to show up with this division symbol. So let's say I wanted to do 27 divided by 9. So if I do 27 divided by 9, notice how it shows up with the bar. It still means that you're dividing. It's just that the fraction, they use the fraction bar instead of this division symbol. And you got to be very careful when you're dividing. You got to make sure that you're putting it in the correct order. So whatever is being divided has to go first, and whatever it's being divided by has to go second. So be careful when you're putting that kind of stuff in your calculators. All right, I think that's about it. I think everything else you should be able to do without the calculator, or should be pretty self-explanatory or something you've done before. All right, thanks.